Hey there, fellow travelers. Well, I am done with the Rings of Power season two, and by done, I don't mean that I actually finished it. I got through 7 episodes in full, and I started episode eight, and I just couldn't finish. I fully intended to as well. In fact, I fully intended by now to have put out individual review episodes of all eight of the episodes of season two, but I just don't want to waste my time with it. This is going to be a very raw um, reaction to everything, and I'm just going to try and leave it pretty unfiltered. I did another version of this where I wrote a script out, and maybe I'll share that at some point with the Patreon community. But I just wanted to come through as raw and unfiltered as I could because that's kind of how I feel about reacting to it. I don't really care to think too deeply about it at this point. It's just such a disaster. It is such a disaster. Um, a disaster on the level of kind of robbing me of the joy of Tolkien as I watched it. And that's a pretty high bar, right? Because here we've been at this Tolkien Road thing for almost 10 years. We have put out like 400 episodes, and in addition to other videos, I've written two books, working on a third, and watching this show, like, just to use the immortal words of Garth Algar, it was sucking my will to live. Now that's putting it a little bit extreme. I've got plenty of other things to live for, but it was really, it cast a kind of pretty dark cloud over, the last few months for me, especially when I would turn my mind to things Tolkienian. So, and I'm at the point where I just don't even care about breaking it down. I don't want to give too much headspace to it anymore because it kind of hurts the brain. It hurts the brain, it hurts the heart. And I don't want it to really have any bearing on how I look at or feel about Tolkien going forward. And I also don't want to contribute to, the constant sort of like uh negativity out there. I'm not in the Tolkien game to criticize everything that comes out. Usually if something comes out and I'm not a fan of it and it's related to Tolkien, I just won't bother covering it. But the Rings of Power has kind of been such a big one, and that I felt like I had to. And to be quite honest, those of you who have been around for a while know that I I was on the train for this thing, right? From the very beginning. I think it was announced in November of 2017. You can go back and find the episode in our podcast feed. When the news broke that Amazon had acquired the rights to do this, and I was excited. I was super excited. I think we had just finished recording an episode, and I actually recorded another spontaneous episode. And it was a few years out, but I was just like, I was very excited. I was like, oh man, they're going to do it right. They're going to give us something really special. And this is the future, right? This is the future of Middle Earth being brought to TV. I've always advocated that done right, it could be great. And I thought it would be for a long time. You can go back and watch our season one review episodes, and you'll see that we were not big fans, but we were kind of like, well, we'll see what happens with season two and going forward. But I mean, looking back now, I recognize that there was nothing that could really rescue the show because they went about it all the wrong way. And I'll probably share some thoughts in the future, more kind of ad hoc thoughts on this. When it comes to like giving the powers of creation and energy to something, I like it to be on a positive scale, because it's hard work, and you want to come out of it feeling like refreshed, feeling that you've given something for the good, and preparing thoughts on this show and kind of like being very careful about what I say is just like, it's too much energy, and it's too much negative energy. Um, it's just a weird headspace to be in. I don't know if the rest of you all feel how the rest of you all feel about this. I don't think I get many people who are big fans of the Rings of Power at this point that watch a lot of this. Um, if you're there, nothing. It's nothing personal. It's truly nothing personal against, certainly against you, and nothing personal against the people who made it. I feel bad for the creators of this show. I feel bad because, you know, I think the two guys, Payne and McKay or something like that. I think I think they've been used. I think they've been used by a machine, and I can't feel too bad. I'm sure they're doing all right on the financial front, but you know, I feel like they got used. Um, Gosh, what else do I want to just rant about right now? And this is this is really what I'm resigned to with Rings of Power is just it's just kind of ranting, and just getting it out of my system. So thanks for listening as I um, exercise my frustration here. Uh, but yeah, it's just a total disaster. I think about all of the missed opportunities. I mean, this could have been great. This could have been one of the greatest TV shows. And you all, if you've listened to much of the Tolkien Road, you know that Greta and I are huge fans of great TV. We'll throw in references from time to time to shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and Twin Peaks, and some other like really great TV shows like that. Um, there's a lot of good TV out there, and it would have been possible to do this right. I've been watching as of late. I've been reading and watching this Apple TV series called Silo, and reading the books that it was based on. And they did a lot to change. They've done a lot to change the show from the perspective of the books. But the thing about it is the guy who created it is still alive, right? He just published the books maybe like 15 years ago, right? So he's there to give his creative input and to say yay or nay to things, right? And to kind of work with the team. And if Tolkien had been here, maybe he could have done that. But when he's not here, and he spent all of this time and effort creating this amazing legendarium, and basically said like, hey, here's the kinds of things that are okay to change or adapt or exclude. Here's the kind of things that aren't. And they just ignore that. The creators of the Rings of Power ignore that. Um, I it's just so frustrating, so defeating. I mean, if I could say something to Jeff Bezos right now, I would just be like, man, look, you are a guy who is all about creating something excellent, pushing yourself, creating something that is, just a massive success. And you got to look at this at some point and say, this is not a massive success. It has not brought home the bacon, even as far as rewards go. The fans pretty much hate it. And you know that because it doesn't get great ratings in the fan sites, right? Um, you can even see with the critics, generally it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of good. That's a critic saying, hey, thanks for letting me preview all of your shows, and giving me an income stream because of that. I don't want to trash your show because I know it's a big deal for you, so I'll just say kind of like middling, not quite mean things about it. And that's how you know that it's a complete disaster. So if I could say something to Jeff Bezos, it would just be like, it's not too late to pull the plug on this thing. It's not too late to just say like, this show is a disaster, and we can make another go of it and do it right the next time. But at the end of the day, it's not accomplishing the things it set out to accomplish. It seems like even from a business perspective, I'm sure it's making some money, but is it really worth all of the money put into it? And that's the sad thing is I feel like if it's not, it's just going to keep on churning out. It's going to keep on kind of approaching mediocrity, right? It's just going to keep on just sort of ramping down and approaching mediocrity. Um, I think about all the missed opportunities from a storytelling perspective. And here's the thing, okay? The story of the Second Age, I'm convinced, okay? If you wanted to do it right, if you wanted to tell it all in kind of like one sequential TV show like this, you'd really have to be okay with jumping back and forth in time frames. And again, like I mentioned, Silo actually does that pretty well, okay? Now you're talking thousands of years, but the key thing is you're talking about elves. Elves are different from human beings. They have a different lifespan. And it's kind of, it's like they looked at it as a negative to think, oh, we'd have to deal with like characters dying off because of mortal men, and the elves are immortal, so they wouldn't die off, so it'd be weird. And it's like, but that's what makes it Tolkien. That's like kind of the heart of it, and it's kind of interesting to think about that as a way that is a constraint in your storytelling, right? Um, but I think of like the missed opportunity of this being really a show about Elrond and Elros, these two brothers who have to make a different choice with a heroic background, right? This heroic legacy, okay? And they have to make a choice, okay? They have to make a choice between mortality or immortality. And that choice separates them, right? For the rest of their existence on Earth. Just think about that as the backdrop for season one and how that casts forward the rest of the series, okay? How that kind of like animates and gives a spiritual depth to the rest of the series. But instead we got this version of Elrond. We didn't get Elros at all in 2 seasons in. I don't know, unless he showed up in the last 30 minutes of episode 8 that I didn't bother watching. But Elrond, Elrond is just kind of lame on this show. I got to be honest. Like, no offense to the actor or anything like that, but just kind of lame. Nothing special about him. I'll just say this: like the Elrond and Galadriel kiss is absurd. So stupid. That's all I'll say about that. But yeah, Elrond, Elros could have been this amazing story of one choosing immortality because, he wants to live forever and all these other reasons. And then Elros, like, well, why would he choose mortality? Why in the world would he choose mortality? Right. And I think there would have been an obvious opportunity there to have like, well, Elros fell in love with a mortal woman. And so he chose mortality so that he could share her fate. Right. And there were other reasons that go into it as well. But there's so much precedent in the Legendarium for those kinds of stories. So that's just one example of like big missed opportunities. I mean, it makes me excited to talk about the possibilities that could have been, because they're really like kind of cool, exciting possibilities. But then I think about what we got and it's just a steaming pile of garbage, right? Steaming pile of garbage. Anyway, that's where I've been, y'all. I just had to like detach myself from, like kind of get my headspace right back to the right spot because I cared. I cared about this show being really good and living up to the standards of Tolkien, right? And it didn't. It just didn't. In fact, it not only did it not live up to the standards, but it just seems to have kind of like taken opportunities to trash it here and there. And now it's in the grips of this massive company and there's nothing folks can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it, right? I kind of share the, I don't know. I mean, it's still early enough again to where, somebody like Jeff Bezos could come in and be like, hey guys, it's not working. We're going to take a step back and try something again soon. War of the Rohirrim is coming out soon. We'll see how that goes. Greta and I will go see it and we'll review it. Yeah, that's where I've been. And, just wanted to let you all know how I'm feeling about this whole situation with the Rings of Power. It's just been a drudgery for me. It totally saps me. And so, the only time I'm going to spend thinking about it is when I really think about Numenor. I'm not going to deal with it like, do any like episode by episode reviews of it or anything like that. It's just not worth the time or the energy to do it. So that's that. Feel free to share your comments below. I know this is not like one of my usual episodes, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of getting my thoughts out there because I've had them all kind of bottled up. So thanks for being part of my little therapy session here, everybody, as I rant about the disaster that is the Rings of Power Season 2. Appreciate everybody for watching. Let's continue to talk about it in the comments. Do fan therapy together if you are like me in your just utter disappointment for this show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time. And the road goes ever on, no doubt about it.